February is American Heart Month, and the American Heart Association says nearly half of American adults had some form of cardiovascular disease between 2021 and 2023. That is more than 130 million people. Heart disease and stroke claimed more lives in the U.S. in 2023 than all forms of cancer and chronic lower respiratory disease combined. This month is built to shine a spotlight on heart health and what can happen even if you are young and athletic. Our Tim Miller shows us how a local man went to the doctor for back pain and discovered something much worse just in time.
Life was moving along pretty nicely for Vince DiPofi 16 years ago. He was active and pretty young.
I thought I was invincible in my 40s for sure.
Until back pain set in and set off a list of startling discoveries about his health.
And the doctor looked at, and he was going to do an MRI, and I said, really, for back pain? He goes, oh, I like to be safe. So when he did that, he came back out, he goes, yes, you've got some fluid in your lungs because you've got some back pain and you're not fully, exhaling. And he said, go ahead and get dressed.
The doctor was ready to prescribe muscle relaxers.
He came back out 2 minutes later and he says, we found something else. And you could just tell by the look, it's like, this can't be good, right? And what he said, he goes, you have an upper arterial aneurysm. And I said, the aneurysm doesn't sound good, but maybe you can give me some explanation. And he drew it out for me that the main artery that comes out of my heart, there was an aneurysm there.
Vince had to go get a full makeup of his heart.
Found out that the infamous Widowmaker was 100% blocked. I had a bad heart valve, which was the root of all of it, and I had the aneurysm. So I'd been living with the bad valve my whole life. I didn't know it, but the doctor told me in my 50s, that's when we typically see the issues.
The dreaded Widowmaker. That's when there's a critical blockage of a major coronary artery, which supplies a large portion of the left ventricle with blood. Left undiscovered or untreated, it can cause a devastating and deadly heart attack at any moment. Just think about this. Vince had an aneurysm, a bad heart valve, and that Widowmaker blockage all at the same time. In 2011, he went to ProMedica Dr. Michael Morant, who had to do extensive surgery.
The valve can cause heart failure, and he could die from that, or the aneurysm could get so big that it could spontaneously rupture, and he would most likely die suddenly.
So at the age of 49, Vince had 3 procedures done during his several hour-long open heart surgery. He was one of the lucky ones and survived all of it.
I'm here 15 years later in great health and haven't had any issues since then.
The back pain was unrelated, but listening to his body and the pain likely saved his life. Vince DiPofi is the CEO of one of the region's biggest engineering and architecture firms, SSOE, based in downtown Toledo. As a leader in the community, he wants to be a leader in heart health.
Well, I mean, it feels like I've got a second life in many ways. So, I've taken advantage of that to the fullest extent that I could. But like a lot of people, you get in a situation like this, you want to pay forward.
He's been active with the American Heart Association for about 10 years, and he is the chairman of the 2026 Toledo Heart Walk on May 17th. The main purpose of the fun, train more lifesavers.
Doing CPR training at the Heart Walk because 90% of the people who have a heart attack outside the office don't live, or outside a hospital, don't live. So this is about teaching people, and the money is used to train people in CPR, to buy machines for that and everything.
Vince is a strong supporter of the American Heart Association, and every year he encourages his SSOE employees to wear red for Go Red for Women Day. You can see they sure did earlier this month. Dr. Morant was happy to hear how well Vince is doing.
That's fabulous. Having just retired, I'm still getting calls from cardiologists that say, hey, I operated on someone 20 years ago, and I just saw them, and the operation you did for them looks fabulous 20 years later. And it's a credit to the surgery, but also a credit to the individual for changing their lifestyle, and also the cardiologists who help maintain it.
The Heart Walk is May 17th at Promenade Park in downtown Toledo. You can register right now on the American Heart Association of Toledo's website. In Toledo, Tim Miller, WTOL 11.
And as you heard right there, Dr. Murad is a recently retired cardiothoracic surgeon.
He is now leading heart research at ProMedica. I think Tim nailed it when he said this too, but this is what happens when you listen to your body. I think a lot of people ignore it and just brush it off, but you could be ignoring something big.
Well, yeah, and obviously thought back pain, it turned into something much more severe. He also mentioned CPR, and we have seen that play out over the last couple of nights and the last couple of months. We had a story, if you haven't seen it yet, on WTOL.com. I encourage you to go check it out. But CPR, the training at Danny's Cafe in Rossford turned into a lifesaver. The employees, the managers learned how to do CPR, and it actually has saved two lives in just a matter, I think we're talking about 6 months or so.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely check that out on our website.